In today's video, I'm going to do something a little bit differently. In most reviews you see of QuickBooks Online, they're done from the perspective of the accountant or the bookkeeper, roles that focus on reconciling the numbers and getting the reports, which is great. But I'm going to do my review from the point of view of a small business person. And in today's example, it will be that of a landscaper, somebody who just wants to get his estimates, buy his materials, complete the work, and keep his profits. So we'll focus on his workflow, both for a small job and for a larger job. And we'll also focus on data integrity, whether or not you need a purchase order, and how QuickBooks can help him or maybe fall short for someone who is not an accountant. Hi, my name's Jill, and this is the PO Framework. If you are a growing small business and you want to keep your numbers accurate but not drowned in all the accountant complexity, this video is for you. Let's get started. As I said earlier, this video is done from the point of view of Craig the landscaper. And to be fair, landscaping is the type of business where you can have maybe just a small job, like might take a day or two, to a much larger job. That's why I think QuickBooks would be a nice fit, because it will allow for him to do either one, and as his business grows, he could use more features in QuickBooks. And so we're first going to look at the pricing and then go through very quickly the steps he would need to set up his account. So here we have the pricing plan. And I just want to start out by saying I'm not sponsored by QuickBooks. I'm not an affiliate or anything. I just want to give my honest perspective of this particular software program for someone like Craig, who is a small business owner, but he's growing. So let's look at the plans, or they call them tiers. So the first one is called Simple Start. Now, Simple Start is $19 a month as a promo price for 3 months, and then it goes to $38 a month. And with a Simple Start, you have the basic tasks that you could do. You could still do his estimates, you could do expenses and invoicing, but you can't do purchase orders, which is essential for a growing business, whether you're a landscaper or not. Now, the next plan, this is the one I like, is the Plus plan. That starts out at $57.50 per month for 3 months. It's the promo plan. And then it goes to $115 a month. And this one, you get everything you get in the Simple plan, plus you get to do purchase orders, which is huge. And your reports are more comprehensive, more detailed. And the one I like as well is you get to track the profitability of your project. So you can see by project if you're profitable, which is essential for someone like Craig. And then the third one is called the Advanced plan. That's quite a bit more expensive. It's really more for, businesses that maybe, have a few more employees, a lot more bigger projects, and they need more features. But in this example, we're going to stick with the Plus plan, which is what I recommend. So here we have QuickBooks Dashboard. Now this is what you might call a demo account or a test drive account. So you're going to see some of the fields already filled in, but I'm going to do the best I can to put myself in Craig's shoes as if he was setting this up for the first time. So looking at the screen, you want to look for this gear box up in the right hand corner. This is the settings. This is to get you to set up your account. So we click on that, and you want to find your company, and then you're going to do accounts and settings. Now this is where Craig is going to set his information up for the first time. And trust me, you need to just take a few minutes to make sure this is accurate, because you don't want any mistakes, because it could lead to errors later. And, in the event you do have a bookkeeper or an accountant, you don't want them to have to spend extra time playing detective to find out what went wrong if you don't get an invoice or there's some delay in payment because your information in the account, has an error. So here we go. We start with your name, Craig's Design and Landscaping Service, address, email, phone. And now for phone, I suggest using the cell phone, because if you have, a lot of people have an office phone, but if no one's in the office because you're out in the field, then you're going to miss calls or not be able to return them in the time that you want to. Website, industry, you may or may not include that. Legal name. Now the legal name is very important, because as I said before, if you have any kind of mistake, it could cause an issue, especially if you abbreviate your name for the sake of space, maybe, even though I think there's plenty of space in here. But you want to keep the name in your account the same as on your legal documents. It'll just make things a lot easier. Now, I'm not offering any kind of, legal or financial advice or anything, but this is just based on my years of experience processing purchase orders. And then you fill out the rest of the information here: business type, legal address, And then you get down to, this is how customers get in touch with you. You might have a private email and a work email, so you want to make sure you use your work email and your address. And then now we're going to move over to see how we can set up a customer for the first time. So we'll get out of this field and we'll go over to, on the left-hand side, you'll see create. Now create is, you have customers, vendors, team, and other. You want to go to customers and come down to add a customer, because I'm going to go through setting up an estimate. So we want to make sure we can, add a customer for the first time. So here we are on the dashboard. And if you go to the top left, you'll see a plus button with the word create. And that's where you can add in a new customer or vendor. So you see here, there's customers, and then there's invoice, estimate, which we'll do later, and add a customer. And click on that and you can add in information for someone new. And I just want to stress again to make sure that this information is accurate, because if you had a typo or some error, you don't want them to not get your email or invoice, and then it would cause a delay. So we'll get out of this, and then also you can do the same for a vendor. There's an expense, purchase order, which we'll go over as well, and then at the bottom, add a new vendor. Now, if you come back here to the gear for the settings, you'll see the account settings. This is where you set your name up for the first time, but on the left, you'll see some places you can click. And if you click on sales, that's usually where the word estimate was, but estimate's already automatically turned on, but you have different things here that you can turn on and off. I wanted to highlight progress invoicing. Basically, that means you can send an invoice for partial deliveries, especially if you have a big job and you're doing one part now and then you have to wait on something for later. You want to be able to invoice them at both times. And also, if you come down to expenses, you'll see purchase orders, and make sure that's turned on. It's very important. And then there's the advanced category. If you scroll down, you have chart of accounts, and that's like checking, savings, expense, things like that. Your accountant or bookkeeper can help you with that. So we're at the dashboard, and we want to be able to set up our bank with the QuickBooks account, because it'll make life so much easier. You can pay your bills, you can send out invoices, and you can keep track in real time of your money coming in and out. So if I'm Craig, I don't need to go to create, but I'm going to come down to accounting and go to bank transactions. Now here, because it's a demo account, you're going to see information already filled out, and technically I can't set up my bank for real here, but you'll have an ability to connect to the bank and then also connect to which account at your bank. So you wouldn't necessarily do it to your savings, but perhaps a business account. And it'll just make life so much easier because you can keep track of the money. And if you get the plus plan, you're being able to track profitability, and it just helps you all around to see, a snapshot of where your business is month to month. So let's create an estimate. You want to come over to create, look for customers, and then go down to estimate, and it'll bring you to the right screen. And so looking at the screen, the first thing you're going to see is Craig's information. Now, I live in California. I can tell you that the zip code, all zip codes start with a 9. So that information is correct, as is the email. And I know it's a demo account, but if I'm Craig, I need to make sure everything's correct. Also, really quick, there is a place where you can add a logo here on the right side, and I recommend doing that. It will add more to the legitimacy of the estimate, and also it'll look good on your invoice as well. So you come over here to edit company, and this is where you can make sure, to correct any errors. And you definitely want to have your phone number, and that part of California is a 510. And then we'll do the Hollywood 555, 1234. Going down zip code, I think it's 94806 is the accurate zip code, and hit save. Make sure it's all there. Oh, I forgot to change the email. Let's go back. I'll just put Craigs.com and hit save. Okay. So that all looks okay. And now we're going to go ahead and find Amy. She's the first one. So we're going to look at Amy's information. Now, you can tell right away the Intuit would be incorrect. Well, maybe not if she also has QuickBooks. Zip code doesn't look right either. So we're going to come into Edit Customer. And we're going to see her name looks good. I believe she is a 415. And scroll down. Let's see. It should be 94104. Bayshore is right near San Francisco. Put any notes in there that you want. Additional information. Her taxes, we're going to leave this at 8%. You can change it if you want, but we'll just leave it at 8%. Because that part of California, it's over 9%. 8% would be very generous. And let's see. Oh, yeah, her email. I'll just put amy's.com and save. So now we have her information. Looks okay. Estimate date. We'll put May 4th. Expiration. Now, it's very important you put an expiration date because something could happen. Maybe you have a family emergency. Maybe Amy has an emergency. What if you can't get to finish this job for 3 months? And with fuel prices in flux, that could make things go up. It may or may not in that short of a time, but you don't know for sure. So I would at least put, if I'm Craig, I'd probably put a 30-day expiration date on that. And also it depends on your relationship with the vendor. If you know that person really well and they know that you're good for the quote, you might not, you still would want to put something at 30 days, but you could always work something out. Accepted by Amy, because she'll probably, when you email this, she'll probably email you back an okay. And just a quick note, you're going to want her to sign off on the approval. You could do that when you get to the site, but somebody emailing you an approval isn't technically considered official. Accepted date, you could put the day that you're doing the estimate, or you can go back and change that. So now we're going to look at the items. And let's say that Amy needs just a small area fixed. Maybe she wants some new sod and some pavers, right? Just a couple things. So we're going to come down here and we're going to do rocks will be the closest thing to pavers. And then you have sod. Now, this is an issue I have with QuickBooks. There is no function for a unit of measure where you can put like one each or one case. Why it's not in QuickBooks is baffling, because for a company like QuickBooks who really pushes automation, you want to standardize everything, make things easier and save time. Why not have a unit of measure? Because I can tell you after 22 years of processing purchase orders, the two top reasons you had mistakes was shipping and pricing. And pricing usually went back to the unit of measure because people didn't figure out how much they were ordering. It was a lot of times incorrect. And for them not to have it in the estimate and the purchase order, and you're not going to be able to carry it over to the invoice, it's baffling to me. That's all I can say. But I did do some research, and a lot of people did a workaround. And what they would do is they would add it in. Like for the garden rocks, you could put each. And people may think that's a default, that, why put each if you know that it is? I would just put it just to be on the safe side. And then sod, 500 square feet, I believe, is a pallet. So we'll put square feet pallet. Now, he might not use a whole entire pallet's worth of sod for Amy, so he could put a little note. We'll go back to that, and you can go to this little plus sign and put text, and then just put prorated, which means he's only going to charge her for the amount of sod that he uses. Now, as far as pricing, I'm going to guess because I'm not a landscaper, and by no means would I think that this is maybe like a normal amount of items that he'd order, but just for this video, we're going to put that the rocks are, let's say, $30 each, and the sod is, let's say, $100 for the pallet. Rocks, we'll put 5 rocks. Okay. So now we have the rocks at $30 each for $150 extended price, and then the sod will be one pallet at $100. So you come down here and you see $250. Now we're going to leave the tax. We'll just leave that alone and just say that it's 8% for the sake of this video. And so you here have $250 as your price. Now, there is something else that we have to consider. Okay, we're going to look at Craig's address really quick. Craig is in San Pablo, California, which is east of San Francisco Bay. And then Amy's customer is in Bayshore, and she's in San Francisco area. The distance between these two locations, probably, let's say 35 miles, right? So when Craig's doing his estimate, he has to factor that in. It's not just his time, it's the gas as well. So, and the labor, of course. So let's look for, let's see if we can find labor, gas, anything. The designs, I would say nominal if it's just sod and some pavers. Definitely want to put your hours, and you're going to say labor by hour to be clear. Let's say it's $65 an hour. And let's say the job is 4 hours. Just guessing. Now, let's see if there's transportation costs in here. We would probably have to add it. But for the sake of this video, let's just put installation. Let's see, installation of landscape design. Again, it's a little confusing. 1 times 50. Let's just say installation is already there, so we're just going to say landscape design. Oops, I need to spell right. Install and travel for now. And so that's one, let's just say it's $100. With gas, let's say $120. Because a round trip, an hour, hour and a half, could be $20. Just guessing, because fuel prices are kind of crazy. And so you're accounting for the items that he's going to be using on the job, the time and labor it takes him to complete the job, and then the installation itself and the driving back and forth. Now, again, he could probably add that as a custom item for transportation. So we have a little better dollar amount here for the estimate. Now, I want to quickly show you a map. Now, I want to show you this map to give you an idea of how much driving Craig has to do. So here is San Francisco Bay. Here's where Craig is, and this is where San Pablo is. Down here's where Amy is in Bayshore. Okay, so Craig's driving out to Amy's to check out the place, see how much material he needs, and then he's going back to his office. Now, he may or may not go to another job site, maybe he has other jobs going on, but let's just assume he goes back to his office after Amy, and then he's got to source his sod and the rocks. Okay, so let's just say for this example, he can get that locally. He doesn't have to drive anywhere super far. So he gets those items, and then he goes back to Amy to do the job, and then heads back to his office. So that's 4 trips. That's what, probably what, 70, 140 miles. That could be, I don't know, $40 in gas. Who knows right now, because gas prices are kind of all over the place. But you have to figure in the time and the gas in his estimate. After looking at that map, we need to add in for the extra driving. So let's go back up here, and we have the rocks, the sod, and the hours. Now, driving back and forth from Craig's to Amy's is probably an extra 2.5 hours. I mean, with traffic, it could be 3 or more hours. So I'm not sure if he wants to add it into the labor. the labor could just be his time spent on the property doing the actual job, not the back and forth driving. So let's see if we can add another item, because we want to be as transparent as possible to the customer and have them know exactly what we're charging. So let's see if we can add an item. Let's see, add new. We'll consider it a service. Consider it transportation. There is no SKU. Well, new category would be travel. Hit save. We'll leave it as is. Save and close. So transportation. Description will be travel to site, and it'll be implied that it's a round trip. So technically 2 round trips, travel to site, round trip, 2 round trips, probably $20 a trip, so that's $40. There's gas. So it's a little bit more accurate on its estimate. And let's see, I don't think that's taxable. His labor, we'll just leave that not taxable. The items he has to pay tax on, so we'll leave that there. So now we have a little bit better estimate. So he's accounted for the rocks and the sod, and he's prorating the sod just in case he doesn't use all of it, and then the hours he's spending there and his driving back and forth. And $20 might even do more, the wear and tear on your car, but we'll just leave it at $20. So now the estimate's done. So he needs to send this off to Amy. So we're going to save, and then we're going to review and send. So it gave it a number, estimate 1001. So here's his estimate. We'll assume that that's all correct. Now, I want to say something about sending an email, an estimate. Is not that you have to worry about this every day, but someone could hack your system. And when at my old job, occasionally I would get an email and it would look real. It would look like it came from the real person, but it wasn't. Someone trying to get us to pay an invoice. And so on these, you want to be able to put a small note in the email, a note that a hacker wouldn't know. So what I mean by this is, first you have, it's from Craig's, that's good, to Amy. Estimate from Craig's, and you could say, you could leave that there, or you could just put estimate from Craig's landscaping. Let's say, we'll name it a job. Let's say corner, because you're going to do the corner. So that's not something a hacker would know. Dear Amy, now we'll leave it at Amy because you got to know her. Please review my estimate. We'll review the attached estimate. And you could put, please review the attached estimate below based on my site visit today, May 4th, 2026. May the force be with you. Feel free to contact me with any questions. Oops, be nice if I could spell. Sincerely, and you want to put your name, Craig, say his name's Smith. Okay. So in here, note that we put a little something in there so a hacker wouldn't know that. And so you can hit send, and off it goes. Now, as I said before, an email approval from her would be okay. And on this job, it's small. But when you get to the site, you'd have your customer sign off on the estimate just to make it official. So Craig is now sent off his estimate. We're going to assume that Amy approved it so they can proceed with the job. So Craig's going to come back in here and he's going to hit 1001, which is the number of the estimate that we recorded earlier. And he'll find here Amy's Sanctuary. And so he'll look in here. This is his estimate. And if you go down here, it'll already say convert to invoice. So we hit that button. And we have an invoice. Now let's look what happens when Craig has a large job. And we're going to assume for this example that Amy, his customer from the smaller job, was so happy with his work that now she wants him to come back and redesign a whole section of her sanctuary. So he's going to have to go back to the site and even take, more detailed measurements, photos to prepare a proper estimate. Let's go to the new estimate page. So we'll go to create, down to estimate. Now, on our last estimate, we already updated the information for Craig, so we can leave that as is. And when we pull up Amy, we know her information is correct because we already fixed it. Estimate date, we'll say today. Expiration. On a larger job, if it was a huge job and you had a lead time involved, meaning it would take some time to get all the materials together, you might put that expiration date out to 60 days or even 90 days. But let's just say for this video, we'll keep it at 30. Okay. And then accepted by, it'll be Amy, but because this will be a little bit more involved, we'll leave that blank. And now we're down to the products. Now, let's just assume he's going to redo a whole section of her sanctuary. So we have to figure out the items that he's going to need. Let's say there's concrete. Let's say he's going to do a rock fountain and lighting, rocks for around the rock fountain. And we'll say a design service. And let's see. We'll do more sod. We'll just do more sod. Okay. Now we have to do hours. We're going to do installation. Go back now to installation, and then we'll do transport. Oh, here it is, transportation. So here we have the design services. And that could be, as a description, we'll just say design and layout. And it's that one really is a default to 1. So we'll say that's $500. Let's just say. Okay, the rock fountain, we're just going to say each because the customer, doesn't know. We'll do 1 rock fountain, $275. Rocks, we'll do 12, and we'll do those as each. The sod, 500 square feet. Pallet, we'll do 1. Nice if I could type that right. And I think we did $100. We'll just do $100. Oh, the rocks. Let's say $30. Landscaping hours, labor by hour. Let's say this is a 3-day job. We'll say 8 hours a piece, so that's 24 hours. Oh, and you have to think of the driving time, but we'll get to that in a minute. Labor, $65. Now, on a large job, he's going to have more than one guy. So the labor is by per person. Or we can say that's Craig, and then we might add, I'm not sure how they would do that. I'm, again, not a landscaper, but let's just say it's 24 hours times 3. So it's 72. It's 3 guys, 8 hours a day. Let's just say that. And it's labor per crew. Per crew of Well, we're trying to say it's going to be one person at 72 hours. Or you could say a crew is 3 guys. See, this is what I mean by no unit of measures. You could easily make a mistake here, but let's just say labor by hour per person. We'll leave it. We'll just say 1 guy at 72 hours, since it's technically 3 guys at 24 hours. But again, no unit of measure invites errors. Installation of design, it's 1. The installation itself, let's say $2,000. And transportation, let's go look at our map. So here we have the map again. Craig is here in San Pablo. Amy is here in Bayshore. And I already know we're going to use Tanya's nursery as the vendor. And Tanya's up here in Middletown. Okay. Now, keep in mind, Craig had to go back to Amy's again, even though he's been there before, because this is a bigger job. He needs to confirm his measurements and photos. So he goes out there, goes back, and now he's got to consider either Tanya's going to ship the items to him, or he's going to go get them and come back. And in this case, we're just going to say Craig's going to get them because we're going to assume that the address for Craig's is his house, and deliveries to a residential residence are more expensive, and the things that he's buying is they're probably going to have to be on a pallet, which means he would need some sort of pallet jack to wheel it off. A little just more complicated, so we'll just say he's going to get them. And between Craig and Tanya, that is 75 miles. So that's 150 miles round trip. And gosh, 150 miles. If this was 2040 for 30 miles, it's $120. I mean, I'm just going to guess a number. We'll say $200 gas. Who knows? You know, the way gas prices are. But it's just an idea to give you of the time and the gas that Craig is spending going to get his supplies, coming back, going to the site, coming back. The customer has to take all that into account. So we want to make sure that's reflected on the estimate. Now that we've seen the map, we see exactly how much gas Craig is going to have to spend on his travels. So we come back here to transportation and we'll put travel. Now, round trip to the vendor was let's say $200. But he also has a round trip to Amy, which is another $40. So we'll say $250 total. But again, no unit of measure. We can't itemize out both trips. Now, he might not do that for the customer. They just want to see how much there is for travel, period. They might not need the itemization, but Craig needs it because he wants to make sure he doesn't undercharge. But we'll just say round trip. We'll say round trip. 2 round trips. We'll just say, no, that's not going to look right either. See, again, no unit of measure. We'll just say travel, and we'll just say 1 at $250. Keep it easy. Okay. So that's his estimate. And now on a big job like this, I mean, this is at $8,165. He's going to want 50% down. I would. So he's going to send the estimate as is, and he can explain that to, Amy when he gets there. We'll leave the tax the same. And here's a note down here, the note section. You could put 50% down, remainder upon completion, or whatever notes you have in here. Or that could be for the customer, but we'll just leave it there. So we'll save it, and then we're going to review and send. Estimate 1002 has its own number, as it should. And it goes, and then here we go. Amy's email, estimate from Craig's. And we'll put landscaping. Large project. Dear Amy, okay. They're a little bit friends now, I guess. Please review the attached estimate per my visit to your site today, May 4th. You can say, feel free to contact me with any questions. Let me know if you can approve. Sincerely, Craig Smith. And I know there's a way you could change the auto responses on this, but we'll just leave it as is for now. And then you go ahead and send. And there we go. We sent the estimate. We're going to pick a vendor for our purchase order. So I already said it was going to be Tanya's. So we'll scroll down to Tanya's. Now her email looks good. For the sake of this video, we'll say the address is good. And now we're getting into the ship to. Now, in my previous screen, I showed you the map, and Craig was driving to Tanya's to get everything. He didn't want her to ship anything to him because he didn't want to mess with the delivery. And in that case, that's called a will call. So you would take out his information here and, excuse me, and put in will call at Tanya's nursery. That means that he's going to the vendor. He will pick the items up and take them back. Now, granted, he's paying gas and time to go there, but it's probably cheaper than having her ship it to him. So we'll leave it there. And then today's date. And and a purchase order number will populate, I believe, in this system after you save it, because you absolutely have to have a PO number. You can't just have it be blank. Okay, so now the due date. Now, assuming Craig already called Tanya's, at least I hope he would, to make sure she has everything in stock, he's going to have to schedule the date for when he wants to do the project. Now, nothing's written in stone. There isn't a guaranteed ship date for anything really, but usually when the vendor tells you, hey, I can ship that by next week, usually you're pretty good to go. And because Craig orders from her all the time, he knows he can trust her. So he's going to put down the date for, let's say today is May 4th. He's going to put down, let's say the 20th. That's when he's going to be able to schedule it. And what he's going to have to do is make arrangements with Tanya to go get everything, because she might not have everything in stock. For all those items he ordered, maybe she has to wait on her supplier to get the rocks and the sod and everything. And then Craig can drive up there, get everything, and then take it to Amy's. So we'll say May 20th. Ship via, and again, it actually doesn't apply because he's doing it, so you just put Craig. Usually you'd put truck or UPS or something. But these items are quite heavy, definitely by truck. So now you're going to have to punch in usually the purchase order. Now, originally when this opens, these are blank. So there's category and there's item detail. Now, not every purchase order needs a category, but for a small business, you want to categorize the items you need. And let's say he has enough sod, but let's say he needs the rock fountain, and I forget what else he was getting. He's getting the rock fountain, and let's say he's getting from her sprinkler pipes, let's just say. Now the category usually in a purchase order, the category is another column, like where the unit of measure should be, or you might have a SKU number. You would put category. That way everything's on the same line. It just makes things much easier to read. Let's say he puts in, let's go down. Well, we took out fountain rocks. Let's say, there's your cost of labor, materials. We'll say fountain, garden, and lighting, and then we'll do plants and soil. Oh no, that's for sprinkler pipes. We'll just do sprinklers for a category. Now that's basically so he can track the types of items that he's getting and how much money he's spending on them. Now, some people might not bother with the category. It's up to you. So now his rock fountain isn't going to cost as much because let's say Tanya sells the rock fountain to Craig for $50. Craig's going to turn around and sell it to Amy for $75. He's got to have a bit of markup in there, make it worth his time to do the job. But let's say this pricing's already in here. It's already preset. Again, no unit of measure. What's one? Is that one fountain? Is that, a part of it? Sprinkler pipe, is that one pipe? Is that a pack? Maybe pipes are sold in a pack or a case. Again, we don't know. So we're going to have to mark it ourselves. We're going to put each. And then pipes, we're going to say a set of 4. And we're going to do four sets, 2 fountains. I mean, granted, this is pricing is a little off, of course, because the bid to her was over $8,000, but we'll just leave it as is. And we're going to say that these are heavy items. Of course, he had to go get them, but that's a purchase order to her. He's going to send it to her, and he's going to have to list a job name. It's very important to list a job name. So your message to vendor would be mark for Amy's. You want to put it here too, because you don't want to make vendors hunt your purchase order for information for one thing. For example, you'll see the shipping box where it has everyone's address, and then at the bottom of the purchase order, they put like liftgate, call for delivery, all the delivery instructions. Some systems don't read a purchase order that way. They want all the information for shipping in one spot. It just makes it easier and less likely for missed information or, some kind of error. So you always want your POs marked, especially for a small business guy who wants to keep track of his jobs and, did he make money on Amy's? He can go back and look at that if he marks it correctly. So we'll just put Amy's. And then we'll just assume that's all good to go. And save and close. And that's it. Now he's going to need to send it off to Tanya. Okay, so we're going to look for purchase order, and look, it's the first item. So, and it gave it a number, which is excellent. It has to have a number. So we have PO 1005, and now we have to send it off to Tanya. So you come down here to the bottom, and it usually gives you 3 options. So save and new, save and close, save and receive, save and send. Okay. Now, in my many years of doing purchase orders, I knew that my vendors got a ton of emails, a ton of purchase orders, and I wanted them to know that my email was a brand new one. So I would put, it says purchase order, but we would put new in all caps, PO 1005, Craig's Design and Landscaping. So that way they know that the PO is a new one and it has a PO number. And it's also easier to track on your emails if you put the PO number in there. And dear Tanya, we'll assume that she processes all her own purchase orders. Please find my attached purchase order to this email. This is the one for Amy's that I will pick up myself. A hacker wouldn't actually put in that kind of information, so it's nice to that helps identify and helps Tanya know that this is a real email. And you also could put new PO, and you could also put under here will call. And this way they don't set it up to ship by accident, because so many times I'd have a will call PO. It says will call all over the PO, and somehow the vendor ships it on their own. They missed that part. And so it looks good. This one's for Amy's. Thank you sincerely, Craig Smith. And we'll send it. So now it's going off to Tanya's. Now, just because you send a purchase order doesn't mean the vendor gets it. You really need to make sure that they send back an order acknowledgement. That does two things. Number one, it tells you that the vendor has your order. And it also tells you if it has a ship date, it means the order's in process. Because if an item is not in stock, they're going to say, you know, thank you for your order. And they're going to say estimated to ship or will call, you know, May 15th, whatever it is. So you know that it's already on their production schedule. Because if you don't get that order acknowledgement, the PO could be just in the ether, in limbo somewhere. You don't know. So you want to make sure. Now, we're going to assume for this video that he's called Tanya. He's got the order acknowledgement. And then she's going to get all the items ready so he can go pick them up. He's going to go get them, take it to Amy's, and do the job. Now, once he's done the job, because he's most likely going to pick it up and then do it either that day or the next day, he can make sure he gets that invoice paid, because he doesn't want to pay any invoices until he confirms he gets what he ordered, because he's going to take, I'm not sure why this hasn't sent yet. He's going to want to make sure that the items that he picks up from Tanya's, and he's going to have to make sure he has a packing slip, which is a description of the items that he's getting, that the PO matches the packing slip of the items he's getting and matches the invoice. So everything aligns, because you don't want to end up overpaying for something. Or what if somebody puts something extra on the invoice that you never ordered, you know, by accident? Or maybe it's something that was on your last order. You just don't know. So that's what you want to make sure you do. Now, in our example, he's done all that and he's going to pay. Now he wants to pay the bill because he's all done with the job. He's all good to go. And I know I've skipped over a lot of steps, but just for the sake of time, we'll go into the purchase order and get it turned into a bill. And we're going to assume that he already has a copy of the invoice from Tanya. So let's find that purchase order. So we'll go to the top, and it's the very top. Now there is a bill, because I was doing a little bit of research in here and I did hit the copy to bill in the purchase order, but let's look at it first, because what would happen is you go in there, you see the purchase order, in this section here under the dollar amount, it would say copy to bill, and you would save and close, which I did that already because I was testing a little bit. So we'll go ahead and save and close, and we'll come back up to the search bar and go to the bill. And it's already here. We know that that dollar amount is correct, and we will schedule the online payment. This is why you want to hook your bank up to QuickBooks. This makes it so much easier. And, oh, well, mine's not hooked up yet. But anyway, so we'll save and close. We'll assume that you went ahead and got it over to your bank and you're going to pay it. And so now that is done. So now you can see that QuickBooks could work well for someone like Craig, who does both small jobs and large jobs. And especially if he's new, probably in the beginning, he would, do mostly small jobs, but at least he has the flexibility, if he's on the Plus plan, to use the purchase order and the tracking so it can accommodate a bigger job as he's growing. And that's what I like about QuickBooks, is you don't have to feel like you got to go to a new platform to, find more features. You can pretty much find everything you need in QuickBooks. So the little guy who just does, his estimates and, the smaller jobs, to someone who, has now a more complicated schedule because he's growing and, wants to have everything in one program and not have to relearn everything all over again. Now, Craig will have to figure out his unit of measure on his own, and that would be a manual process, but I did show a small workaround. And the approval process is manual as well as a three-way match. But sometimes having a more hands-on approach especially on the three-way match, kind of gives you a better feel of control over how your business is doing, because I feel sometimes when things are too automated, you kind of feel a little bit detached. So, especially for a small or mid-sized business, I think the Plus plan would be perfect for someone like Craig. Now, I've attached a quick little PDF showing you the 8 common mistakes on purchase orders. It's free. You just click on it and it could help you hopefully avoid some of those costly mistakes. And then let me know in the comments if you have any challenges with purchase orders, or maybe if you even use a purchase order. And if you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.